Let's take a look. Stasis Freeze. Reduce duration of all non-super freezes versus players to 1.35 seconds. Note, this freeze is too short to break out of, so breaking out is now only possible when frozen by a super. So that's no more long freezes, right? So they're all short freezes. Literally across the board, all short freeze. Which is, I think that's a really positive change, right? I think this is something that a lot of people want, and I think that's great. I did think there was an element of risk versus reward for short freeze versus long freeze that could have been played with and tuned with, and, you know, stacking slows, using more resources in order to get a greater outcome and more risk perhaps. But it looks like, for the sake, I'm going to assume, of speed here, they're just toning it all down to short freezes, which I think from the majority of players in the community is a very positive change. So I'm not going to say no to that. I think that's good. Reduce special weapon, heavy weapon, and light ability bonus damage versus frozen players from 50% to plus 5%. I don't know how I feel about this. I actually don't like this change. And I know this might translate to a little bit more survivability, perhaps, for when you get frozen, kind of giving that brief window of time for someone to convert on. But I liked the special weapon damage bonus because it was the only thing in this sandbox right now that put pressure on the special ammo economy. If you wanted to really convert on a frozen target, it meant taking out your special weapon and using ammo the majority of the time, and using it in that scenario, which put stress on the ammo economy and create some degree of meaningfulness to it. So I don't really like that change personally for that reason, but hopefully we'll see the special ammo economy get better in the future as well. Stasis Slow no longer reduces weapon accuracy, but it says now increases weapon flinch when under fire. That's pretty interesting. So no longer reducing accuracy is a massive win. That is like, hell yes. I think everyone was thinking this. The accuracy debuff was crazy. So much so that, like, that was a big reason I used 180 so much. But now it increases weapon flinch. So I don't like flinch. You know, does it need to be there? I'm not sure, you know, if this needs to be there per se, but I definitely think increased flinch is better than reducing accuracy. You can still fight back, I think, with flinch rather than accuracy, which literally just dials up your RNG and your a strong inability to fight. And I'm assuming we can use unflinching perks, which I'm always team double unflinching, to reduce that as well, which is nice. Yeah, it makes things like no distractions and unflinching perks more valuable. So I think that's good. No longer suppresses class ability and air moves, but there's a known issue here. The Ionic Blink of Stormcaller is still suppressed when slows, but that's going to be addressed in a future release. So I don't know how I feel about this. I kind of have a problem with this on first glance, because to me that seems like, okay, so why am I slowing someone? I'm slowing them to stop their sprint and to, I guess that's really it, stop their sprint and double jump, right? But to me, it's like, if they get close enough anyways, they're just gonna shotgun and then dodge. And dodge is on a 10-15 second cooldown. So they're gonna have the dodge. And Icarus asks, they're gonna have the dash. So what? They're just gonna continue to close the gap with their dodge anyways. So I don't know. It feels weird that we have mobility and movement options still working when slowed. To me, that is odd, and I don't know if I like that. I'm sure I'm weird in this case. I'm sure the majority of people are really gonna love this and agree with this, and I think that's cool. And I think that, as you know, for that reason, it's probably going to be a positive. But for me, I feel like, okay, so what's the point of slowing someone? So you slow them to stop them from closing a gap, and then they just shotgun and then dodge anyways. So that's, I don't know if I like that. And then reduce movement speed penalty while slowed by 20%. I really like that. I think that you move like a snail. So I think that's really good. Whisper of Hedren's Fragment no longer increases weapon damage after freezing. Now increases weapon stability, weapon aim assist, mobility, resilience, and recovery after freezing. That is, I'm really happy to see that, because I talk about it all the time. We have way too many damage buffs in the game right now. There's like 50 billion ways to get a damage buff, and Whisper of Hedrons with cold snaps as well as the 120s was one of the main combos of getting just a free damage buff. Even if you don't convert on the freeze, you already had such a huge advantage from that, but then you get such a crazy damage buff for so long. So that's really gonna tone down the potency of 120s. I think that was a key reason why they were so meta, and I don't think we're going to see them as much. I think we will still see them, but not as much because of this change. That's a really huge change. And now it's going to just pretty much give you all the things on your weapon you can want, and a lot of stats. So that seems cool. I like that. I think that's neat. That's a lot better than just a free 2-tap, essentially, right? Whisper of Rhyme. I forget which this one is, to be honest, but no longer... Oh, it's the Overshield one. No longer provides Overshield in Super. I think that's great. That definitely needs to happen. Cold Snap Grenade. Seeker no longer tracks targets after initial target acquisition. Increased arming duration before Seeker spawns from 0.3 to 0.8. Reduced detonation radius versus players from 3 meters to 1.5. And now bounces off walls and detonates on the ground. So... if I'm getting this straight, if I understand this correctly, cold snap grenades are only going to track the initial target. I don't quite understand what that means, but I think it means that it's gonna, like, once it locks onto the target, it only does it there. I don't know what happens after that. And then it's time to actually, I don't know, they say arming duration. I guess that's the time before the grenade actually becomes active is going to be a little longer as well, which is good. So you can't, like, throw it at the floor and just have it instantly happen. And then the detonation radius, which is your radius that if you're hit by it, it freezes, is now halved as well, which is going to be great. And I don't believe it climbs up walls anymore. It says it bounces off walls and only detonates on the ground. So I don't think it's going to climb up walls anymore. So it seems like Cold Snap definitely getting a really, really hard hit. And I think that this is a good change, and it's deserving of this change. Alrighty. Titan Behemoth. Looking at recent gameplay data, the Behemoth generally has the highest win rate of any subclass in most 6v6 game modes, and is also among the strongest in 3v3 modes. Well, yeah, you don't say. It's pretty busted, I think. In Trials of Osiris matches, for example, or did I say busted? Movement skill gap, my bad. Only Top Tree Dawnblade has a higher win rate. Okay, so it was actually the second highest win rate. For those of you that were saying to me sometimes, oh, I don't know, Drew, you know, Revenant is, like, really much stronger than Behemoth. And I said, don't get me wrong, it is strong, but it looks like Behemoth was way up there for win rate. We've taken these strengths into account when balancing the Behemoth's abilities. Between Shiver Strike and Cryoclasm, the Behemoth has an incredibly high mobility, making targeting the Behemoth frustrating for controller players in particular. We've taken steps, yes, very much so. We've taken steps to make sure the Behemoth is more targetable while moving, which should hopefully alleviate some of the frustration. Shiver Strike. Reduce flight speed and distance. Okay. That is very good, so it's not just closing the gap instantly on you anymore. Reduce knockback versus players, thank God, and remove slow detonation on player impact, thank God. I really don't know why it needed the insane knockback and slow. I really never understood why it needed slow, and I'm so happy to see all of this toned down. Thank God. Maybe it will actually be used more as a movement ability and not just a my shotgun didn't kill, better automated fly at you and get a kill from banging you into a wall or something. Really, really happy to see that. Cryoclasm now requires the Titan to sprint for 1.25 seconds. Oh my God, thank God. Before activation when not in super, but remove the cooldown result. And removing the cooldown makes sense because now it's going to be, I guess, similar to, what is that, Antea Swords, where there's a sprint wind up. Oh my God, like this is thank you. Thank God. It was so unbelievably infuriating to see, like, this, a Behemoth Titan, just a movement, skill gapping, teleporting left to right, shooting backwards while they're looking forward. Thank God. Thank God. And just like closing the gap on you 10 meters at a time. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but I'm so, this is the change I would have loved, and I'm so happy it's a thing. So this is great. Howl of the Storm. Reduced angle of initial freezing damage cone. Thank you, because it was ridiculous. Reduce crystal creation freezing radius. Thank you as well. That's also a positive change. Slowed down sequence of crystal formation, allowing victims more opportunity to escape. That's also excellent. Now spawns a small crystal on walls if formed into walls. Cool. Good positive changes, I think. Glacial Quake. Reduced heavy slam, vertical freeze range versus players. Excellent. I still think the super was ridiculous, and even less damage resistance now. Awesome. I'm in love with these changes. I'm so happy about these changes. Yeah, this is really dub after dub. Let's see the Revenant now. Let's see what was done to this. This is where maybe I cry a little bit. No, I'm joking. I want the Revenant to be hit as well. The Revenant's Crucible win rate, kills per minute, and average efficiency is generally within the top 6 of all subclass trees. See, top 6, not top 3. But its usage rate is incredibly high, so that's worth saying as well. It is very often used, and that doesn't take a genius to notice. In Trials of Osiris matches, it has the 5th highest win rate of any subclass tree, but is used by a whopping 36%. That's a pretty massive number of Trials players. This high usage means players fall victim to its abilities more often, multiplying the frustration of being slowed by Withering Blade and Winter Shroud. I really love this commentary they're giving. I think, can we take a second to appreciate like them walking us through, like, hey, win rate, usage, what that means for players. I really love that when they do that. We hope that the changes we made to being slowed, paired with the adjustments to the Revenant's abilities, make this experience better. Withering Blade. Reduce slow duration versus players from 2.5 seconds to 1.5. Thank God. The duration was ridiculous. Very, very happy about that. Again, massive W for that change. Reduce Whisper. Oh, Whisper of Durance. No more Yep Durance. Reduce Whisper of Durance slow duration extension versus players from 2 seconds to 0.5 only, so that would make it a 2-second total if you're using Durance. Oh, no more Yup Durance. Thank you. Oh my God. Reduce damage versus players from 65 to 45. Okay, this is awesome. I believe in my last time that we looked at all these changes, I said the damage can go lower. Take it lower. I want to use it for the slow, not for the damage. Take it lower, and here it is. This is awesome. And after 1 bounce, it's reduced to 30. This is excellent. Reduce projectile speed by 10%. I don't know how, like, I don't know. I don't want to be biased here, but I don't know how much I like this or not. I like the speed of it. It is very strong, but with these other changes, I don't know if that's going to be too much, but I mean, I think that's okay. Reduce tracking after bouncing off a wall. Good. That's a great change, because right now it doesn't even feel like there's much intention. Like you're not even sometimes I sit there and think like, okay, this would be a dope ricochet. I'm gonna go for this. This is a little cheeky, but I'm gonna go for it. But there's times where I'm like, I got a guy one shot, and I'm throwing a shuriken, and then it gets them, and then yeah. So yeah, nope Durance now. Yep, nope Durance. Winter Shroud. Another great one. So this is the slow dodge, I believe. Reduce slow duration versus players from 2.5 to 1.5. Again, so following the Withering Blade as well. Excellent. Reduce Whisper of Durance slow duration extension. Okay, so same thing as the shurikens, and I think that's excellent. Definitely necessary. So what I'm noticing here, just to quickly commentate, is they're shrinking, they're basically making it harder to take advantage of these abilities and shrinking the window of time you have to capitalize on these abilities. So it's not only going to be harder to use them to slow, to freeze per se, you're now going to have a much smaller window of time to truly capitalize on when a target is affected by them, which is great. I'm really happy with this. I think it's excellent. It's a really good way to go about it, I think. Yeah, Duck, at the beginning of the start of the stream, like, we hit a shuriken. I literally threw it straight at a wall, and bounced vertically. I'm like, I don't think that's how physics works, you know? All right, so Touch of Winter, Cold Snap Seeker no longer has increased movement speed or travel distance. That's good. Cold Snap Seeker now spawns a small stasis crystal on detonation. Okay, so they're reversing the changes to Cold Snap that made them like Mega Cold Snap, really fast and really high travel distance, and now they're just gonna spawn a little crazy stasis crystal when they detonate. I like that. That's cool. Okay, Shadebinder time. The Shadebinder's Crucible performance is generally within the top 10 of all subclass trees. Top 10. I don't feel like that's very high. I gotta say that this was probably the most accepted, I think, of all the stasis classes, other than the goofy tracking, which they mentioned was gonna be goofy, like the crazy tracking. I feel like this was definitely the most tame out of all of them. In Trials of Osiris matches, it had the 9th highest win rate of all the subclass trees. By the way, I'm pulling all this data from the weekend of 5/14/21, but it generally doesn't deviate much between weekends. VOG launch weekend shook things up a bit though. While the Shadebinder may not be the most powerful in competitive play, okay, good they acknowledge that, being frozen by its abilities takes a large emotional toll on the victim. We've adjusted Penumbral Blast to require more accuracy versus players in order to turn this ability to more of a skill shot given its powerful effects. I like that. I definitely like that. Penumbral Blast. Reduce tracking and proximity detonation size and tracking versus players. Reduce freeze radius versus players when impacting the environment from 2.7 meters to 1.5 meters. I like that a lot. Honestly, my only problem with the Shadebinder continued to be its melee. I think the super doesn't really bother me. There's no real traits of the class that bother me, but that was obviously, I think, for many, the center of the class. And I think for an instant freeze, at some of the ranges it can do it at, because they had to bring it back up for PvE, I believe, back when it was, you know, initially changed and then I guess reversed or whatever, because it like not going really far in PvE. That instant freeze could be frustrating at times. It allows people to just fly in with a shotgun. Hey, I missed my shotgun, or I didn't kill. Oh, all good. Freeze. Or like, hey, I'm gonna fly in, freeze, shotgun time. So it looks like they're making it so that it's gonna take a lot more. Again, it's hopefully gonna be a lot more of a skill shot, a lot more exact, which means it's much harder to do that when you're like just flying in with high intensity and high speed. And it also makes it more acceptable, I think, to players when we know it's harder to do like that. So again, skill shot. I'm really hoping this is a skill shot now. Ice Flare Bolts. Seeker now only chains once when spawned from a player shatter. Okay, so I guess now when you shatter a player or whatever, it makes the ice flare, but it doesn't like, and then if you kill the next, it doesn't go again? Question mark? Yeah, that's how I interpreted that. So, I mean, those were definitely strong. I don't think they bothered me too much, but sure, I guess. I don't see anyone complaining about that. Winter's Wrath. Freezing projectile tracking strength now ramps down to 0 after 2 seconds of flight. Okay, cool. So that's the addressing the wacky tracking. Cool. We hope these changes have a positive impact on your Crucible experience. While the gameplay team is very busy working on future releases, Crucible and the PvP community are incredibly important to us, and we will continue to monitor gameplay and data and community feedback regarding Stasis and subclass abilities in general. We'll continue to update Stasis until its win rates and usage rates are in line with the light subclasses. Expect more updates in the future.